Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Off the Post. I'm Russ Cohen. There's no Anthony Mingione tonight. He's out sick, and we're going to get right into it. We've got a special guest, Bruce Bennett. Bruce is a tremendous hockey photographer, best I've ever seen. We always people could say they have their favorites. He's definitely my favorite. He's got a great new book out, The Hockey News, Hockey's Greatest Photos, the Bruce Bennett Collection. Bruce, how are you?
Great, Russ. How are you?
Doing good. A million years ago, you let me see a lot of your photos at your photo shop, and you said at the time you had like 1 million, and this book has 250. So how the hell did you cut it down from 1 million to 250?
Not easily. Out of the 40 years, I amassed about 2 million images. Some of them were digitized, and some are still in slide and negative in print form. And managed to go through around 600,000 to pare it down to the 250, and that was no easy task.
No, that's definitely not an easy task. I mean, you've had an amazing career. Something I've never asked you, I'm going to just ask you one question that's sort of off the beaten path, but what's like the first picture you remember ever taking?
I don't have an answer for that.
You don't? Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I used to borrow my father's camera, and probably on a school trip. That's all I could think of. Is we used to go to like Bronx Zoo and Museum of Natural History, and I'd come home with a full roll of film, and my father would berate me. You shot a whole roll of film on what? Animals at the zoo? And I think that's pretty much where I started, actually.
Would that have been on like a Kodak Instamatic or something?
Well, yeah, I think it was a Brownie, an odd kind of camera back in those days. But yeah, I think it was I guess it was a Kodak. I'm not sure, but I remember the name Brownie.
Nice. So looking through this book, and there are really so many tremendous photos. They did a great job on the presentation of it, just the full bleed. You get some great shots. You've got Lundqvist with the roof at MSG. Pictures always sort of evoke emotions out of people, but I kind of wonder, for you it's probably different, because a lot of times you're probably like dodging getting hit or hoping that the puck doesn't come through the circle to hit you. And so, like, is there any picture that in this book that you put in there because it was maybe like the hardest one you had to get, or it was just one that was difficult to get?
I'd like to say all of them are difficult to get, but a bunch of them are more like point and shoot, and at 8 to 10 frames a second, you can't go too far wrong. I'm really proud of the back page, which took me a while to perfect. It actually took me 3 games until I got something I was really satisfied with, and that's putting a fisheye lens in the scoreboard at the Nassau Coliseum. Technically there was a challenge, and trying to visualize exactly what you would see, and because you're basically hooking it into the rafters, and then the scoreboard goes up, and you really don't know how well your aim was, or whether you would see the entire ice surface, which is the way I failed the first time, was not seeing the whole surface. So I think that's the one that I'm most proud of now. But through the years, I was never a great portrait photographer, so there were opportunities I had and shot a lot of different portraits on players, and that's basically shooting what's presented in front of you. So the challenging ones, the action photography, are the ones I'm most proud of. Yeah,
and I'll tell you, Juniper Publishing did a great job. I mean, with all these shots that I presume were all in the Hockey News at some point, or many of them. I see Peter Forsberg, at the Olympics, Lilyhammer. That's a long time ago, and Forsberg barely had any facial hair. I mean, that's a shot where you see him just sort of looking at the heavens. That's pretty great, knowing that he wins a gold medal. I mean, those kinds of things, you really had, you've traveled a lot of miles to get all these shots over the years. I mean, I see you at a fair amount of events, and then there's a ton I don't see you at because you're overseas. So your travel schedule's got to be pretty hectic, even now.
It is, yeah. The start of the hockey season is real tough, and the end of it is really tough. Really want to travel around and get to as many games as possible. I have a ton of photographers that work for Getty Images, and they're assigned to games, and then there are freelancers that we assign as well. But really, my strength is stock photography, individual action shots on players. And when the season starts off, you've got trading cards and 8x10 manufacturers, and it's real important to score as many players as you can in full body isolated action. And since that's what I do best, I schedule myself for as many games early in the season as possible. And then, really, as my role has evolved with Getty Images, I send out the request lists to the photographers and have to let them know who to shoot and check their images and make sure that we got all those players in their new uniforms.
Yeah, and it's a big deal. Yeah, I mean that's a really important thing. Some other shots I see like Dion Phaneuf clocking Michael Sauer, and it happened in 2011, and Sauer pretty much stopped playing at some point in 2012, and post-concussion, and you see a shot like that, and you kind of wonder, was that the start of it? I don't know if you think about it when you take that picture, but when I see it, it sort of makes me think about that.
Yeah, someone had mentioned that to me. I didn't realize that was pretty much the end of Michael Sauer's career. I think of that sort of thing, I think more of the Nick Kypreos shot, where he's
he looks like he's napping on the ice, huh?
Yeah. Well, there was no nap.
No.
I guess it was Ryan Vandenbush. If that was his name.
Vandenbush,
yeah, with a fight at Madison Square Garden, and people have said that was pretty much the end of Kypreos' career, depicted in that photo.
But don't worry, though. Nick talks a lot still. He's fine. You don't have to worry about Nick.
He's good on TV.
He is good on TV, but yeah, Vandenbush was a real tough son of a gun. I mean, you've got pictures of Steve Yzerman where he literally looks like he's 18 years old. You've got an exasperated Wayne Gretzky as a coach. You've got some real, you've got Solani, which there's so many Solani fans. You've got Tretiak in there. I mean, I forget you're old enough to shoot Tretiak, so that's a pretty classic shot. I mean, yeah, I had to stick it in,
rub it in. That's what I was going to say.
Yep. But you had, like a center ice shot from Sochi. I mean, I imagine that couldn't have been easy to get. I mean, when you go to Russia, even though it's the Olympics, and even though the IIHF is there for you, I imagine it's probably a little tougher because of the language and everything else to sort of get the position that you're hoping to get for a game to get a shot like that, right?
Yeah, Russia, I guess we expected Russia to be a lot tougher than it was.
Okay.
A lot of coverage that I plan for, such as Stanley Cup or Olympic Games, it's a little bit of a formula that goes into it, but it's a series of remote cameras. And in the Olympics, regardless of what country we're in, those cameras are put up in the week before the games start, and then on each individual game, you trigger all of them or some of them. So the Russia thing was a little problematic, getting them installed and getting the radio frequencies correct. A little tough accessing the rafters because of security. Every single game was an issue. But, the end result is someone scores an important goal or something important happens anywhere on the ice, whether you have 2, 3, 4, or 5 photographers, You would also have anywhere up to 9 or 10 remote cameras to make sure that you absolutely do not miss any important moment.
Yeah, see, those are things that, we don't think about. And even me as a writer, I would never even think about it. I definitely don't. And certainly you've made fun of enough pictures of mine over the years on my website, so now I can see why you get so many better shots. Besides, you knowing a lot more, and me just shooting just to get something.
Right. So don't quit your day job and go into photography. That's all I can say. But I always joke around that I really should have become a writer because, you guys in the early days would just walk in with a pad and a pen, and I'd be dragging a coffin filled with clamps and wires and multiple camera bodies and all. And actually, when I started this job, I was like 6'1", and now I'm down to 5'6". The weight of all this stuff is taking its toll.
Yeah, no, there's no question. I mean, although I would think technology's helped you out a little bit. So, here's a good picture. You got Mario Lemieux bearing down on Corey Hirsch. Corey Hirsch looks like he's going to make a save. He's a Facebook friend, so I'm going to say he made the save. But, we're all pretty sure Mario scored on that one. But you really, you capture his helmet, you capture the old pads, things like that. You could really see the difference between players back then and players now. I like the Ken Linsman shot with the rat on the shoulder. I've never seen that. That's a great shot.
Mm-hmm. That was a Hockey News cover. A lot of the portraits, it's funny as I went through and sought out all these different photos and tried to figure out what was going to have the most impact. It turns out most of those portrait shots were done for either Hockey News covers or done for the NHL's old publication, Goal Magazine.
Oh, yeah,
so some of them, so some of them might look familiar. Somebody might say they've seen them in the past. Not a young guy like you, but, the older people might see them in the early days.
Yeah. You've got the Sutters, but you only have 4 of them. I mean, you definitely missed a few.
The 5th one was actually who's behind the guy on the right. No, he wasn't there. I know. So close to scoring all Sutters in one. That would have been what a bonanza that would have been. But yeah, I came up empty on that train.
That's all right. I'll tell you, one of my favorite shots in this is, and I never knew this shot existed. Eric Lindros pre-draft hanging from a rope or hanging from something off the anchor bar in Buffalo, and who knew what was going to happen after that? That was before all the hijinks, right, and everything else that went on.
That's right. The following day was the draft. So, it was a dinner at the Anchor Bar with Eric Lindros and Steve Dryden, the editor of the Hockey News. Did some pictures of Eric that night. And he just got a little frisky when we walked out of the bar and started climbing up on the awning. So made for a nice photo.
Yeah, now here's an interesting one. I was a big, and still am, a big John Candy fan, and you have him with a New York Islanders Cabbage Patch doll.
and to be perfectly honest, that was my Cabbage Patch doll. So, yes, that was my prop. I provided that prop. And that was a Goal Magazine. He was a Canadian guy and a big hockey fan. One of those John Candy movies. He was walking around in a Chicago Blackhawks uniform. The name of the movie escapes me. But
really?
big hockey fan, and article for Goal Magazine, and just photographed him at a hotel in New York City while he was being interviewed.
Yeah, I mean, you've got today's players. You got guys like Kreider, and you got guys like Chara, and you've got guys doing calisthenics. You've got the old Great Western Forum with Bernie Nichols there with the shades on, and Bernie's a great guy. I've interviewed him a few times, and we remember how good of a goal scorer he was. But that's that old Western Forum. I never got to see a game there, but it looks pretty spectacular there. You've got decent amount of Gordie Howe shots, which we would expect. Lanny McDonald, probably the best mustache in hockey history. This Ben Bishop shot at the Garden, bending over backwards, is that part of his pregame ritual? I never even noticed.
Yeah. Oh, man. I didn't realize that he was doing that until probably the second period of the first game, I saw him in the finals, and then it became a little bit of a joke because I when he got back to the net, I think it was an overtime game, the first game, and so I was like, "Oh, please come back to the net where I have the net cam." And I photographed, it's a remotely triggered camera in the back of the net, and boom, he just flips over backwards and kind of looks at the camera, and I blasted that. The Getty Images editors put it up online, and then every game after that was, let's do another picture of Ben Bishop. Let's make a vertical, let's make a horizontal, let's crop into his eyes, let's do just the mask. And over again, it was how many ways to do virtually the same photo of Ben Bishop. But I've never had a goalie bend over that far backwards into the net, right into the net cam.
It's great. I mean, forwards by Wayne Gretzky and Martin Brodeur, two class acts. It's really a tremendous book. It's going to be the hot book to get this year. There's no question about it. I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule. Everybody should go to Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, Chapters, all those places. The Hockey News, Hockey's Greatest Photos, the Bruce Bennett collection. Really a tremendous job. Really great job. And you know what? Maybe when you retire, you can get into writing.
Yeah, I'm going to consider that. I mean, we all know that's a job anyone can do, so that'll be my next career.
No doubt. Bruce, yes, easy stuff. I mean, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Bruce, thanks. Have a good one, and I'll see you down the road.
Take care, Russ. See you soon.
You too.
Bye.